Ladies and gentlemen, please turn your lights down low and join us, Extra Credits, on Kentucky Route Zero. Attention, Lily Chamberlain, read your application.
When you should be coming over the Jambox. Jambox got unplugged.
Thank you for your application to the Gaston Trust for Imagined Architecture Annual Fellowship. We've received a record number of applications this year, over 100 in total, and regrettably, we can award only one fellowship position per year. As we know, our review process includes a multi-phase blind committee analysis of portfolio submissions, as well as a careful review by a panel of subject matter experts on each applicant's notability and relevance in the field. We must be extremely selective in our process so as to maintain the level of standards we've established over our 35 years of operation. Our panel did not select your application. We encourage you to consider reapplying next year. Many young artists and architects reapply for a few successive years before being accepted. Sincerely, Dr. Goldstone Norton, Architect, Gaston Trust for Imagined Architecture. Below the text is a hastily handwritten note. Sorry for the condescending letter. Love your work. Unfortunately, I just do the mail here. Yours, obviously, SVT Robert.
Folds the letter up, puts it in her handbag. Opens a folder on her desk labeled Proposals. Lila sorts through documents, all printed on a fading letterhead reading Bureau of Reclaimed Spaces. Proposal number 1. Site. Hospital. Proposed use? Auto dealership. Proposal number 2. Site. Distillery. Proposed use? Graveyard. Proposal number 3. Site. Basketball court. Proposed use? Kennel. Google reviews proposal number 2. Proposal number 2. Distillery still active, but scaling down operation to less than half of site. Distillery built on top of graveyard originally. Hybrid distillery graveyard could share resources. Chapel, once repurposed into bottling facility, could be repurposed into chapel. Google stamps a proposal endorsed. Well, Google reviews proposal number 1. Proposal number 1. Hospital closed due to repeated sanitation violations. Auto dealership sanitation requirements comparatively lax. Small operating rooms can be repurposed into offices. Large cubicle-style administrative offices could be repurposed into showrooms. Google stamps it endorsed.
Rick clears his throat.
Busy?
How are you, Rick?
I shouldn't complain. So, did you get my note?
About the proposals? I've just finished them.
Oh, great. I'll tell Diane. I think she was waiting on... I don't know. So, how'd your application go? I was in the mailroom and saw you got a letter back. Sorry, I don't mean to pry, I just saw.
It's fine, Rick. I'm not going anywhere. How's your goldfish?
Get a good rest in the truck? Yeah, I know you love a drive. I do too, usually. Didn't we just pass this place?
I don't think the Zero operates like the roads we're used to. I don't understand it either. So what is this place?
What do you think?
When I got my electrician's license, I had to go to this government building in Frankfurt. Kind of low to the ground, a bit older. Didn't really look like this place, I guess, but they all had that same feel. Bureaucracy in the air. Too much concrete. This is weird, but do you think we're inside or outside right now?
Both.
Okay, very poetic. Maybe someone around here has a better sense of direction. End of the line?
Seems that way.
Not for us. I hope.
Man. Well, here you are. Better late than never, I guess. Just unload the whiskey over there by the elevator. I'll figure something out. You're lost. So you're not the... Sorry, honest mistake. We're supposed to have a little celebration here at the office, but the whiskey never showed up. I saw you at the truck and thought... But you don't really look like one of the boys from the distillery anyway. What do the boys from the distillery look like? You've never seen the boys from Hard Times? Well, count your blessings. They cut a grim profile. Well, it's clearly you're new to the territory. I expect that means you're just passing through. We're looking for Dogwood Drive. Do you know where that is? Dogwood? Nope. You're going to need to talk to someone upstairs about that. One of the map clerks. But first, we've got to get both in the system. So you'll need an appointment with one of the ingestion clerks. Now let's see. Rick is booked for proofreading drafts all afternoon and wanders out of sight. Let's go make some calls and see if we have anyone free. There are some books over there in the waiting area. Just take a look around. Have you seen our grotesques?
You can grab my laptop too and just open it each one.
The television is playing a cartoon about a bird. The cartoon bird collects a piece for its nest, a scarf, a plastic shopping bag, a bit of a young girl's hair. The nest is warm, but precariously fragile.
The television is playing what looks like a nature documentary. A hermit crab scuttles across the beach. Its shell is an awkward shape. It must have once belonged to a different crab.
The television is playing an instructional video on elevator design. It is crucial to maintain proper lighting in an elevator. In the absence of sight, passengers' sense of motion is greatly enhanced. The passenger should never feel as though they are physically ascending or descending. The elevator should create the illusion that the building is flat. This is the mark of successful elevator design.
Television is playing a closed-circuit security feed of a housing project. The feed switches mechanically between locations. The hallway, a disused plot of grass, the stairwell, the mailbox.
The television is playing a silent video of an empty theater. A microphone sits in the middle of the stage. The lights are slightly dimmed. The speakers hum impatiently. 3 books are piled on the table: a service manual for a sewage pump, some architectural plans for a bungalow, and a slim collection of Japanese death haiku. An envelope is protruding from the bottom of the stack. Conway picks up the envelope. The envelope reads, Bureau of Secret Tourism. It contains several small, handwritten brochures with ritualistic directions to bizarre locations. Oh, good. I thought you had left. People can be so impatient, you never know. Well, I have a meeting with Lula Chamberlain. She's a senior clerk and doesn't usually handle the ingestion process, but she's the only one with a room on her plate this evening. My schedule says she's on the 5th floor reviewing some diagrams. The elevator's just back there to the left, 5th floor.
She's on the 5th floor, right? Fifth floor, diagrams and drafts. 4th floor, archives and records. 3rd floor, bears. 2nd floor, conference room. 1st floor, clerk's offices.
3rd floor, bears.
You suggested conventionally fix this one issue.
That seems fine.
Greg is hard at work examining some diagrams, measuring angles with a plastic protractor, and occasionally scribbling numbers in a small leather notebook.
Can I help you? Don't answer that.
Sorry, we were looking for an ingestion clerk?
Oh no, I'm an interior spatial analyst. I can't help you with that. I think the ingestion clerks have all gone home for the night. Lula might be able to help you. She's pretty senior. You just missed her, actually. She was up here an hour ago. She's probably back at her real desk now on the 1st floor. She barely made a dent in these diagrams. Must have been distracted. Speaking of which...
Okay, our office is down on the first floor.
Fourth floor, archives and records.
Okay, your office is down on the first floor.
Alright. First floor. Clerk's offices.
Hello? Are you lost?
Very much so, yeah.
Okay, well, let's get you pointed in the right direction then. It's a pretty straightforward process. First, you'll need to get a case number assigned. Talk to Clerk Metzstein about that. She's just over there at the end of the room. Happy to help.
Hi, how are you? Fine. Thanks. I just need your ingestion card and a list of your last 5 permanent addresses.
I don't think I've had 5 permanent addresses.
Oh, my sheet has 5 address boxes and it says to fill everything out. Maybe you should fill out a transient subsheet. We can still get it processed. Go talk to Clerk Bohm and he'll get you set up with one. Clerk Bohm is just over there in the corner. Happy to help.
Howdy. Here for a transient seat? No problem. Rum just threw some papers on his desk. Happy to help. He opens a few folders and quickly closes them. Looks like I'm out. I know there's some back in the archive. You have to put in a special request with Clerk Macmillan. She's a document czar. Straight back at the end of the office there, by the file cabinets.
This is just a runaround. Where's Lula Chamberlain?
Oh, no, that's right, her there, in the cardigan. Having fun in the paperclip labyrinth? Well, you made it eventually. You look exhausted. I'd offer you my seat, but my ankles are turning on me.
The receptionist said you could point us in the right direction.
This concrete bunker of an office is just a waypoint for you, I'm sure. Where is it you're trying to go?
Well, we're looking for 5 Dogwood Drive.
Dogwood Drive. That's funny. You know, I used to live on Dogwood Drive. This was years ago. Grimy old basement full of insects, attic full of birds. I had a few roommates. We all worked at the university. I had a dog. I drank whiskey and beer and made sculptures. That Dogwood was a surfaced road. Now, with a name like that, it would have to be. What are you doing on the Zero?
The gas station attendant told us we'd need to take the Zero to get there.
Gas station attendant, I see. Friendly blind man about my age. Hangs out with an old cat. Likes to pretend he's a poet.
Old cat?
Oh, no cat anymore? Sorry to hear it. Joseph and I used to work together. And we lived together. We were friends. That was a long time ago. We haven't spoken in years. Do you know why he's pointed you this way? 'Cause he's still in love with me, of course. And now he's implicated you, quite inconsiderately. In your condition, it's appalling. So I'm very sorry for wasting your time, but I'm afraid you've been misled. Excuse me.
But where's the Dogwood Drive you lived on? Maybe it's the same one?
No, it's not possible. Dogwood Drive I lived on is now called Pale Dogwood Drive. They've renamed all the streets, you see. Too many streets with the same names. It was never a problem before, but we used to have these databases, and it's all too confusing for the computer. The computer has no sense of ambiguity, so it proclaims an error. Name collisions, they call them. So my Dogwood Drive is Pale Dogwood Drive. Another might be Large Leaf Dogwood Drive, or Himalayan Flowering Dogwood Drive, and so on. But one of them is still just Dogwood Drive, so it might hope. Really just a matter of consulting records, of which we have abundance here.
Do you have a record of those streets?
I expect we must. They'll be up in the archives and records, 4th floor. It'll be filed under O for autonyms, probably, or G for generic, or maybe S for specific, depending on which part of the street name was changed.
Archives and records. So, 4th floor.
4th floor? Let's go to the 2nd floor instead.
Parade of disconnected images, obscure corners of nameless interiors, astronomical diagrams projecting the distances between celestial bodies, painting by Giorgio de Chirico, a list of unpopular anagrams.
And records. So 4th floor.
Alright, 4th floor this time, I guess?
Yeah. Damn, this place is a mess. Okay, take a look through that logbook, I guess. Maybe there's some kind of system on these boxes? I'll just start digging.
Small logbook has a smart leather cover. A few notes are scribbled on the inside covers. Most pages are just lists of titles, names, and dates. Inside front cover.
Note in logbook. Document staff, please do not transfer any more records from the storage unit until we get the new file cabinets in. We're up to F, and that will have to do for now. Instruct clerks to focus on activities beginning with the letters A, B, C, D, E, or F, or activities most likely to involve research on subjects beginning with those letters. For example, cars is okay because it involves automotive, drivings, brakes, etc., but air quality is not okay because it relates to health, safety, pollution, etc.
Page 1.
Several documents relating to sporting competition venues were quickly checked out and back in over periods of a few days. Basketball courts, baseball fields, alleys, and parking lots.
14.
A single set of documents relating to coal mining operations was checked out and back in by several different people within a few hours.
Back cover.
Note in logbook. Failing antique shops folder missing. Listed checked in on page 63 but not present.
Nothing? Yeah, me neither. Half of these boxes aren't even labeled. The rest are all from the first few letters of the alphabet. Couldn't find anything with an O, G, or an S. Maybe that clerk knows somewhere else we can look. Okay, office is down on the first floor.
First floor.
Thank you, Conway.
Nothing? That's unfortunate. Well, they must still be in transit. See, we've only moved in this new venue somewhat recently. It's all been a bit in progress. This was a cathedral not so long ago. Can you believe it? Then the Bureau reclaimed it, and the old congregation has been directed to one of our storage facilities for their activity. That's where you'll find the street name records I expect at the church. Marianne at reception can give you the directions. Just come back here when you have the files and we'll begin the necessary paperwork to have the information analyzed. Oh, and while you're out on the road, you might want to stop and see Dr. Truman about your leg. He's a specialist regarding ailments of the joints and limbs. I know he works at night. His home office is in a small neighborhood on the east bridge of the Bowling Green. Here's his card. Just stop and see him. That leg's a miserable sight. Take care of each other.
This crab is wearing an empty inkjet cartridge as a shell.
This crab is wearing a dense chain of paper clips as a shell.
Get what you need?
Marilla said you could direct us to the church.
Oh, sure, the old storage lot. Just get back on the zero and drive until you hit the crystal, then turn around. It'll make sense once you get on the road. You can handle it. This crab's wearing a manila folder as a show.
Back on the 0. So, how much farther are we going to take this tonight?
I think our trip might be coming to an end, but I'd love to know where it's going.
Break off and review what's been going on?
Let's do that.
Alright. Hold tight, everybody. We'll be back in a bit.
Alright, everybody. We will hopefully be back with fixed sound issues to discuss everything that's going on that you might not have been able to hear in 2 minutes right after this commercial.
Hey guys.
Hello, everyone. Tell us if the audio is survivable for you and what we should do at this point as far as our audio levels go.
Jesus, that I don't want to call it an unmitigated disaster because eventually we mitigated it, but it was
It was a barely mitigated disaster.
it was a slightly mitigated.
Brought by
disaster.
our desire to use nicer microphones.
Yeah, we tried to use a better microphone this time around.
As it
and
turns out,
it-
there were issues with said terrible microphone.
right. For the record, I warned us against using this highfalutin fancy technology.
And we tested it, and it seemed fine. Now it's too quiet.
Okay, great. Is
All
the
right.
mic too quiet? Then let's turn it up. Perfect. Yeah, because I turned down the gain on the mic, so we'll see.
Well, we had been running it at full, right?
Right. Well, we ran it at full, and then that killed people. I'm pretty sure we committed.
But
audio
like we've been
murder.
running this.
Right,
Yeah.
we've been running this at full.
And then we brought down the computer volume.
Right, I don't think it was the computer volume. I think it was the. So this being a fancier mic has internal decibel boost, right? It has internal gain. The gain was on, and thus it was probably terrible. I'm hoping that it's fixed now.
All right. What is James drinking?
Orange juice, because orange juice is best delivered in vial form. No, tragically, I do teetotal, so it is actually orange juice. But
A little higher. All right. That's about.
so turn up the speed. Yeah, there you go.
Wait, that makes the mic.
It may. We're gonna find out.
What
I
odd science
assume-
are you
I
running?
assume it
Oh,
has
we're
to.
seeing the negative sides of vile.
So there's lots of
consumption.
downsides.
vile things.
Watching James attempt to fill up this vial was actually.
So I mean, the one tragedy is normally one has a spigot to fill these vials, and today
And
Phil
also
gets
drink
to
from.
have- Yes, and so as you can see,
You're
you
dripping
can
on
see,
your,
we're
you're definitely
going
dripping on your pants. Your
drop
pants are
these
definitely
in
getting
because
full of
today is an unmitigated disaster in all senses because we clearly have not yet actually mitigated this disaster. How is our volume now? I think we should unplug this other mic and go back to using the silly webcam mic.
Wait, wait, I can barely hear James. So that's pretty up to date, which means we're pretty screwed.
Yeah. Basically,
I think we should unplug this mic and go back to using the webcam mic. I don't think you. Is that actually the mic? Great. Great. Let's hear.
Hello.
how is this?
Has my
Hello.
computer figured out that it's tried to switch mics now? We're gonna find out. Oh, Ambrose Pierce. I will totally talk
If
about
they can
Ambrose
hear
Bierce.
you.
If we
Right.
can be heard.
If not, I'm going to keep drinking this horrible vial.
Everybody type a 1 if you can hear us great, and a 2 if you cannot.
Oh wow. Wait. Oh.
I told you!
Alright.
Terrible $35 webcam
Fucking-
mic is the way to go.
Apparently.
None of this $100 stupid video mic business. We
All
run
right.
low tech here.
Fucking, we're doing it. Literally doing it live. Alright.
All right. So
Oh, fuck.
we appear to be back.
I don't even want. Great.
Yes. Everybody's happy now. Well,
Alright.
Right.
Everybody's typing the 1s.
We will never again, I promise you, use advanced technology.
I do not promise you.
All right. So, did you guys catch any of that?
Ambrose Bierce.
Ambrose Pierce. Well, apparently there's a bunch of bear.
A bunch of
It might be.
Beers.
Apparently, the
popular
only
right
thing
now.
the only thing they heard from our read through was the bear floor.
Well, obvious. Well, you guys got it. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
right?
it
It's a floor of bears. Like, what else do you need? I feel like that was entertainment alone for half an hour.
All right.
Actually, it was. I saw you guys on the
Yeah.
stream. It was totally entertainment alone for half an hour.
All right. So how about we go through it again while
Talking about Ambrose Bierce.
talking about Ambrose Bierce.
We actually, so we want to play through again. We can talk about this. We're going to go through it faster this time, but we're going to talk about the individual elements because there's a lot going on here, right? We've moved from a concrete story to what really feels more like a sort of analogical fantasia, a metaphorical fantasia. Let's go with that.
Yeah, and we're only partway through, so we're not seeing.
Right, we're not seeing the resolution of a lot of this, which you'll have to come back for next. So yeah, let's fire it back up.
We are on scene 9.
See now.
Yep. Delicious.
So we're back.
He's gonna stop dripping orange juice on himself.
I'm gonna start drinking orange juice on all you guys.
God damn it.
Okay, is it set up? Is this gonna be working here?
It should. Yes. So this isn't actually going to catch it until the game starts up. It doesn't start up when it's all done.
And then should we do a test?
So restart Act 2.
Yep.
Let's do this. Wait till something shows up on the thing. Welcome back, Miwat. Alright. Yeah, right. As soon as James cleans the orange juice out of his whatever.
I'm actually just getting delectable things because I haven't really eaten today, and so you guys are all going to get to hang out with us while we go through this.
So Lohi, my setup is all the way in Renton, which is the problem.
If you know anything about Renton.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Although I did just get a new apartment.
So what exactly is wrong with the audio at this point?
It's just not. It's not. It was the same thing we're trying to fix. It's high quality. Which is like
Slowly.
Yeah.
We'll have a better setup once I get a thing set up in my new apartment, which I don't get in the longest. But that is actually happening.
So
The audio died again. Alright. Test. Going a bit bad.
we still having audio issues? If so, we're gonna mess with this live with you guys. This is exciting.
Yeah, this is the
There
second.
we go.
Alright.
Brett, you can fill in for that.
I can do Chewy, but not Bears. Ooh, I've been tested.
Yeah. I learned that in high school.
I think we should just play Envirobera at the same time as Objective. Envirobera is trying to find Highway Zero.
Wait, does the noise distorts when we talk?
Already in slave volume mode.
Oh boy.
So, we've now ditched the fancy one.
But we were
Here
using
it
this. Is this it's bouncing more than it's good.
I'm still to the audio up and fix the camera. Or no change. Okay. Sorry, it's hurting us.
Yeah.
Alright. So the mic is about. Alright, we're gonna do this.
Here, let's do.
We'll see if this actually does. Oh,
I think that
excellent.
is going to be disastrous for them. But alright. I believe that's the system volume and not the mic. I think we want to go recording devices. Fire it up. Grab our webcam pro. Levels. Levels are fully up. Advanced. Don't care. We could listen to this device. Yeah, that's the
Okay.
webcam mic.
Alright, how is this? We will project
It
a
is.
little bit.
It is blowing out, of course.
Let's disable the So now you guys are getting sound, correct?
This
Wait.
Does that mean?
Wait.
This is your audio.
So this, I've just re-enabled my laptop mic. I disabled the laptop mic and enabled the
Yeah.
webcam mic, and they lost all the sound.
Yeah.
So it
XSplit.
is my guess that XSplit is only going that entire time. XSplit was going through my terrible, terrible laptop mic, or at least since we pulled that out, XSplit was going through my terrible, terrible laptop mic. So we need to get XSplit to go through this, and then I will disable the laptop mic.
In order to do that, we probably have to take down the stream.
I believe that no one will be incredibly sad if we
Wait,
kick
hold on.
down.
We sound great now. Okay.
Okay, So,
All right, nobody touch anything.
ladies and gentlemen at home, I think what was going on is I think we had multiple mics, all of which were being picked up.
There are no less than 8
simultaneously.
microphones in this
Right.
room.
There's just we are literally surrounded. I'm just wearing a coat of mics,
Yeah, don't look under his jacket.
and so
He's got a vial of mics.
I think
A day in
Yeah.
the life of James.
we have
Go.
killed all the other mics. I
All
think
right.
the computer's
Are
only
they
reading one
defeated?
mic now.
This mic is the greatest. What the heck?
So we are now literally using the single worst mic I have, bar none.
Which sounds the best?
So once again, technology.
All right, so
No.
nobody touch this thing because apparently the camera is wobbling also.
Well, okay, so but is
Put it
that
up, put it
clip? Can we clip the mic better?
Don't touch it with your foot.
I'm not.
Touch nothing.
I'm not.
Stop
touching
breathing.
It with,
No,
good.
no.
But look, it still wobbles. Just looking at that webcam wobbles it.
Stop looking at it.
Yeah.
It's a shy webcam. Let me see if I can clip it on better. I'm about to destroy everything, folks.
Goodbye. I knew you well, chat.
The answer is no. It does not clip better than that.
It doesn't clip, period.
But it's not wobbling. What did you do?
I don't know anymore.
I have
It
magic
doesn't-
hands.
It's not wobbling like it used to.
Magic hands.
Okay, yeah, sure, that's great.
That is the best possible response you can say.
Well, I don't believe
Someone
your magic
saying-
hands. Your hands have not been.
All right.
Maybe
I'm gonna go stream Magic. Fuck you guys.
You have Fairytopia hands.
All right, let's just fucking talk about narrative
Hi,
design.
Dr. Rot Zero. This is like.
Go back. So, okay. I'm assuming y'all caught none of what we said. So let's
We
sort of
said
go-
all of this stuff.
Right. We said all the words that are here.
It was great.
They were great words. You missed them. What were you doing?
Yeah.
Come on here, people. You're failing us.
All right.
All right.
Anyway,
So,
fine, just
We
stream.
have an application to the Gaston Trust for Imagined Architecture. Imagined architecture is a silly phrase.
Right.
Yeah.
Clearly, this is the first thing that's supposed to kick our mind. Right.
Yeah, it's in the first sentence and everything. Like they want you to know.
But what does this feel like? This doesn't feel like an application. I mean, maybe this feels like an application to our architecture thing, but what does this feel like to you?
An application for an academic grant.
Right.
Yeah, annual fellowship is the word there, right?
And so this feels to me, I mean, we do have this heavy academia theme going on, which is really interesting that we just wandered into this, right? If you guys remember the last thing, we were in coal mining land, right? And going over this coal mining disaster, and all of a sudden, this is where they fired up for us. This
Well,
is
and we have the one character who got out who is maybe a ghost now.
Mhm.
Or the one character who did enter that other world of academia and is lost to everybody else.
Wait, which character was this?
Shannon Weaver.
Oh, right,
Because
right.
she was
Right.
She actually went to college.
Yeah. Being explored. Huh.
Yep.
Also, it's the Gaston Trust because no one imagines architecture like Gaston.
Blah, 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 same sort of thing.
I think this is just we have an actual human note from there.
Right, and I
And
love
the
how
I
they-
is uncapitalized.
Yeah, they don't capitalize anything here, just to
Yeah.
highlight.
But it's also the guy who actually wrote the letter is the one who just does the mail here.
Right.
Who is a doctor? I just do the mail here and reject form applications. But then we're getting into like parody of failing grants, right?
Right.
Grant refusal. Okay, so then we get to see what her job actually is.
Right.
So then this provides us context for our explorations of the space for the rest of this act.
Yes.
Yeah.
It tells us what this place is, what they do. It also
So what do they do?
well, first off, it provides us a comedy moment, right? This is
Mhm.
one of those moments again where the tone of the piece has changed from where we were previously.
Yep. Stupid tap to click.
Tap better. So this is a place. Her job is to approve or oppose.
Well, to endorse or oppose.
Right. To endorse or oppose.
So she clearly doesn't have a final say, right?
Right.
She's another step along like the factory line.
Right.
Yeah.
the repurposing of existing but failing buildings, right?
Yeah. So we have themes of metamorphosis going on.
Which later they'll call back to with this building itself.
So then we get a moment between these two characters.
And we get back into that office work, right?
Yeah.
Like, we move from this moment that we've just had of the sort of uncanny, the weird, right? This funny moment where we're repurposing a distillery into being a graveyard, and now we're into the hyper mundane, right?
It's a little bit. It's skewed a little bit for comedy still.
Mhm.
How's your goal?
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Pretty
interesting
desperate people.
how much more we are focusing on the comedic aspects now
Yeah.
than we were in the last.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Which sets the which works with the change in tone.
well, that is what sets the tone, right? Like that is how we have a different tenor to this one. What's interesting is our main character is still, I mean, is even more pronouncedly wounded here than he was in the previous.
Well, and it exaggerates the way you're given the runaround, in that you have to
Limp
all
everywhere,
around.
yeah.
Do you think this is mostly for review?
Uh,
I don't think there's any assumption that they need to catch people up.
I don't think there is either. I think it is just, again, I think every moment with the dog is a moment to personalize your character.
Yeah.
Like,
A walk's good for a lot.
yep,
Yeah.
how there's a lot of how tough is your character? How does your character deal with this specific piece of adversity? Right?
Yeah. We also get a lot more characterization of Shannon.
Yes, we get a lot more
Yes.
characterization.
In that she's playing, Conway just kind of accepts it and follows it around. And her options are always to cut through it and yell at people.
Right.
I felt like, why is she following him this far?
I think she knows more than he does, right? Like in the just strict
Right.
plot literal sense.
Well, but
right?
that's why now that we get here, they appear to know the same amount,
right.
which feels kind of weird.
So I think she knows, or she has some thought that she knows some of what's on the other end of the zero, right? She sort of knows what she's chasing because her relatives have done this before, right?
Yeah, presumably Weaver.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when they first approach going to the zero, she had an idea or a plan, and now that they're in the specifics of the zero, she's
Yeah.
as lost as he is.
You think we're
So,
inside or outside?
This is a really important moment.
Mhm.
How do you take this one?
Okay, so we have insiders and outsiders. We've got cultures that people are moving between. Where Conway... Okay, so Conway is this guy who... Let's see, he's moved between jobs. There's even a discussion of whether he was a transient before. And now we have an established bureaucracy. This is... In a lot of ways, this is a very different world from where the characters come from in rural Kentucky.
Interesting. So I actually took this, and I think that interpretation is totally legit. I thought she was talking about whether or not we're sort of inside or outside of it textually right now, right? And because this entire game is playing with whether or not you
Yeah.
are inside or outside the textual experience. And to me, you were clearly in this sort of limbo, right? Because this whole thing is I believe, a metaphor or an analogy, right, that we've stepped into at this point, which exists both inside and outside the text.
Sure.
We're also setting up, like there's the level one of imaginary architecture, right?
Yeah.
Of like non-Euclidean spaces and
And you see that when you get to the map of the zero.
Yeah. Map of the noise.
It's like cave. The first
Colossal
adventure.
Cave?
Yes, Colossal Cave.
So, and you know that they model a lot of this out there. Yeah. I think it's also very interesting that she goes with the end of the line, right? But
So this is very interacting with the bureaucracy moment. You hit the button and you wait.
right, and I think that traditionally in games we don't use waiting that much because it slows down, it destroys the pacing. But here, this whole section is about destroying the pacing, right?
Yeah.
Well, it has its own sort of pace, right?
We also have a callback to the whiskey truck that crashed at the beginning,
Right.
which implies that other people are making this journey. It kind of connects this world to the other one.
Let's try the want to settle a bit, and I'm curious to see if it goes a little bit different. Yeah.
And then this character actually refuses to answer.
Right. How long does it dodge for?
And then we get something-
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it takes the characters out of the realm of us, the players. Right? You work like me. Like, these characters
Right.
are in the game and
They
they
have
only
a
exist in
different
that
life.
world. Yeah. But she takes care of the heating and cooling and watches the front desk. I wonder if it's a reference to Brazil.
I could completely see that. I find it interesting that we get there's something not quite right about the Distillery Boys, right? Like that they don't seem like they fit in the Kentucky side of the world. And yeah, I'm almost certain it is a reference back to that crash that happened earlier.
Well, he said it was a whiskey truck. When I get home, I'm a different person. I don't have to think about it as me.
And there have been throughout this several references to this life outside of their office occupation where we get to see artistry a lot more, right? And yet this is the context that we actually get to experience that.
Well, and this is the context. And we'll see it more later with the other chapters. There are a bunch of characters who practice art outside of their work, but nothing ever comes of it because their work constrains them.
Right.
And then you can see in this, it's not just street names, it's imagined architecture. They're doing something kind of like artistic expression.
Except for they're taking it and making, and this is why the academia thing is really interesting, because they're taking it and making it a novel, right?
Yeah.
Imagined architecture should be very fascinating, but what they really do is they take things and repurpose them often for even duller things, right?
Yeah.
I really like this line at the end when she says, "Have you seen our grotesques?" Right? Grotesques usually be fiction, right? And then
Well, it's also grotesques are the gargoyle or
Right.
ornamentation on building.
and the gargoyles here are these TV sets, right?
Which is really good, like televisions as decorations.
And as the thing to sort of as the warding device, right?
Curiously fresh.
And we get all these very mundane like shows that you could definitely see on American television. And of course we get the call to the hermit crab, and the hermit crab becomes a motif here.
Well, grotesques are also, they're often a metamorphosis as well.
Yes, that's true.
So we've got hermit crabs which change all the time. We have the birds repurposing old materials to build something new. Elevator.
Well, here specifically what they say about the elevator, that the elevator is in motion, but the attempt is to create the feeling of non-motion, right?
Yeah. It transmutates the building.
Well,
So it literally says the building should feel flat, right?
well, it's another note of playing with expectations, right? Like this is not what it appears to be.
And here's just the switching, right?
Then we have this machine rod.
Yeah, I was looking at that earlier,
So
and we
we've got
almost
it-
have. See how you got the ties,
Yep,
right?
We got boat ties, and then crabs come up. Like there's a tide coming in and out. So it's put in a real space. Like we are literally in a cave underground.
Right.
And the architecture is like these public buildings built in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, no, I mean, very much looks like a lot of campuses that Pioneer has seen. I think the barrier is an interesting thing, right? Because why is it even there?
I mean, it's kind of like the end of the road. Like, it's the kind of barrier you'd see at a dead end, or like when something is closed off a road.
Don't they start by saying they passed it twice already?
It sounds familiar, but I don't know if it was this thing.
I think it was this thing. I think when we originally went to whatever choice we made originally, we said that they had seen several. Who was in the envelope last time?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
But we're getting pieces, right? Service manual for sewage pumps and then very banal architectural plans for a bungalow, a place you have to live. And then something strictly poetic.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
the
all right.
Bureau of Secret Tourism.
Your secret tourism with your Cthulhuoid instructions.
To bizarre locations. Kind of like the instructions to navigate a game, right?
I can see that. Yeah.
And those pieces come together. We've got sewage pumps. You have the maintenance of the game engine, writing code. But you need a splash of death poetry, especially how
Right.
you feel when you're doing a project.
Say,
When you're on
seppuku,
part
something that
2
comes
of
up a lot.
5, yeah.
I also find that first line interesting because I feel like it's another
Yeah.
reference to the player, right?
Absolutely. Like they're definitely making the player do more waiting. Like, that was absolutely intentional.
Well, yeah, especially given the character's walking speed.
Yeah.
So I think we now have to give the people what they want.
In the same order.
Well, I think specifically the people always want bears.
Right.
Bears. Floor bears.
Four bears. Alright, hold on. We got a question.
What is the question?
I read question.
Hold on. That was my test question. Damn it. I wish to clear out the queue. Nope.
Dan is programming Twitch. If Twitch becomes self-aware,
Damn it!
question hi.
There we go! Sorry.
Question. Could this game be considered a visual novel?
I don't think of it as a visual novel because, and it's hard. So this is gonna get us in trouble because visual novels. I've gotten into lots of arguments about how to
Okay,
define
so,
visual.
so visual novels, I think we usually think of next to adventure games, right? Like that's our point of reference, where we say it's like an adventure game, but it's clearly something else.
I would say that it's even more static. That the difference is that it is a novel that is in a digital medium, but the interactivity is not the mainstay. And here, I actually do think the interactivity is essential to the experience.
Yeah, like the pacing of the characters' physical movements.
Well, even
Is
though
designed.
all of the interactivity is inconsequential, which
Right.
is what's really interesting.
I mean,
Like we're not solving
it-
puzzles.
it's
You're
inconsequential
solving the
in the
puzzle of
sense,
having
in like the
characters.
direct sense, but the fact that like Conway has to walk at a specific pace to a place is very relevant.
But like it doesn't. We're not changing anything by our decisions.
And well, right, we are changing who we think the character is,
Yeah.
right? Which I think is really important. Which I think happens less in visual novels. Actually, usually I find that in visual novels, it is you're hitting branch points, which you're never hitting here, right? Instead,
You've got
you're
missing. You've got content that's semi-hidden.
Yeah, but there's always one linear path.
and it's all those are like enriching details rather than branching.
I didn't get to check it out earlier. Does the bear floor change after you get them to play the organ?
I have not checked that myself.
I hope they have a bear dance band.
Okay, so the kind of floors that we have too feel indicative of. Okay, so we've got diagrams and drafts, archives and records, bears, conference room and clerk's offices. This felt to me like the work of making a game. In a lot of ways. You have the silly joke, which is important. You have the records, which are completely unorganized, and then you start trying to add rules of don't add anything after F.
Well, I mean, that's why we have the floors that we have. They can only be listed 8th and F.
Yes. Theirs is on floor 2.
Right, like, no, seriously, like, we do not have...
Conference room is on
Right.
floor C.
That's why we have a clerk.
Yeah.
We literally don't have anybody throughout.
Well, there was a bit in here about checking things back in and not checking things back in.
Yeah.
That was also very similar to game creation.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, I feel like they signed themselves up for a 5-game series and got to the second part and were like, this is going to take 6 years. Screwed. Okay, so Greg. Greg sits here at the very top. He's an interior spatial analyst, and he can't help you.
What's interesting is the most senior person is the person who can help you check in.
Mm-hmm. She's pretty senior. Do you feel like Rick is her boss, or?
I felt like Rick was a coworker.
Okay. He's always standing, and he gives you directions when you walk down there.
That's true. It's just the initial interaction with them felt much more like coworker interaction than boss interaction.
I like how every time you come to this floor, he's got a record that's skipping.
Mhm.
And he obviously hasn't fixed it himself.
Right.
Implying that he's just sitting doing the same work forever. And you can fix it and make things move forward, but he finds it very distracting.
Right. And you can see him just watch you as you get.
They have elaborate head tracking technology.
Yes. So do the bears.
They do. It's very disturbing. Should we go to the first floor?
Sure.
Okay, so we have this bit where we're sent around on a bureaucratic mission, but at each stage, or at almost every stage, Shannon can interrupt it and just straight up ask, "Who is Lula?"
Have you had the patience to go through the entire bureaucratic loop?
No,
Me
we can
neither.
do it.
Oh God. Where'd you go?
We're looking for Lula. So we've got a character note, obviously, of the difference between Conway.
Right.
Conway
Well, I like
always
the fact that
answers following instructions, and Shannon always says, "No,
Yeah.
just tell me."
And they parallel. I mean, they give us those options every single time.
Mhm.
I like the fact they all end with "happy to help,"
And they're just like being kind of helpful.
right? Which is how this bureaucracy loop often works.
We chose the other option and we went to this guy. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think that none of these paths actually change things, right?
So I feel like the option to skip all this is also reflecting on our willingness to play the game by the rules that it gives us.
Yeah.
Put your requisition form in the inbox, and we'll get to it as soon as possible. Oh, do I have a requisition form? Ask clerk next.
I do enjoy how you hobble over each one of it. And how none of them mention your leg until you
Except for
actually-
Lula. Yeah.
Oh no! No!
I failed at driving.
You have
It's your tap to click.
yeah,
I wondered why your
blame
tap to click
technology.
wasn't on.
I'm curious to see because they make that comment about patience earlier. I'm curious to see what does happen. I'm gonna have to go back after this and drive through that whole thing. So here,
Okay, we're connecting the two character lines, right? Because we've clearly introduced Lula as a character like our protagonist. So we've zoomed in on her closer than we have with almost any other character.
well, and she's the most colorful one in the office.
Yeah.
She's the
only
brightest.
colorful one.
Right.
She's the
Well, and I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure that that's literal, right? Like specifically the way she describes the bad joints, like the parts being connected.
Can you elaborate on that?
So I feel like it is at the very least, a description of the bureaucratic machine, right? She talks about the joint, right?
The parts aren't connected to each other properly.
Right, that
Yeah.
they're continuously grinding. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but I think this is where we get back to a really important part where we start talking about how the zero works. So, how does the zero work?
Zero is okay. So zero is not a point A to point B thing. It's a journey that having these experiences progresses you along, right? The journey is complete when there's a certain character moment, either in the character in the game or the player of the experience. So you have to you move along through growth.
So here's my question:
That's
Do
another
you
game
know
thing.
where you need to get? Does the zero know where you need to go, or is
Who do you
zero
think he
evolved?
said that the part of it is figuring out where you need to go?
Right. And I guess my question is the zero mapped to that place, or does the zero grow with you as you decide where you need to go? Right? Is the zero a linear experience? Will these characters always get where they need to go, or is this one of those places where the zero is this field of experience that will lead you to that may lead you to where you need to go, that will guarantee lead to where you need to go, but where you need to go may be different depending on what
I don't
experience you have.
feel like I know enough to know where they're coming from on this. I feel like if this is shaping up to be, there's hints about it being about the process of creating something. Creating something has a destination and it has an endpoint. We see a lot of characters who have failed to create something. She's failed in her application. The gas station attendant has an old game that he collaborated on with her that he failed to finish. And so in that sense, there would definitely be an ending point. But we can take it more as a general life.
Well, the interesting thing is, I don't think that they're. I think they both stopped along the zero, right? Both the gas station and her have not crossed the zero, right?
Right.
They've stopped somewhere along the way,
What
and
about-
that may be the mistake, right?
Were there other characters that were implied, like Weaver, that have been implied to have gone through zero? I don't actually remember.
Okay, so Weaver knows about zero. She's been characterized as she's certainly unknowable to the people back in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Right. She came back. Okay, so she came back, and then the debt was too much, so she just left. That's what they said. She just packed up and left, and now I hear from her every once in a while.
And how much of you get in the house stuff do you take as metaphorical versus literal?
Well, we've got a cultural divide and the financial thing. So she went away,
Right.
and she came back, but she didn't bring anything good with her.
Didn't she go to college?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she came back with bills from college at the same time as she left partly, to go to college. She had a better job.
But I thought it was the house. I thought it was the mortgage on the house that was the.
Right, but I believe her college debt was also factored in.
Might be. I do like the fact that she brought nothing good back from college.
Well, yeah, Shannon just says she could read the books to figure out. She could just see how bad their situation was.
Right.
Therefore, she left.
Right. She couldn't help, and so right.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how she weaves back into this. All right, let's keep going.
And in a way, much less deliberate. Implying that we can't logic it out, right? We have
Right.
to feel it. But, heck, we're looking for Dr.
And what do you feel about this? I do feel like, yeah, and about what they do, right? About this. And I do love the second part, right? We're back to the artistic side of things.
Yeah. Okay, so Dogwood Drive is a destination on the zero. She used to be on Dogwood Drive,
Right.
and now she's not.
Dogwood Drive may be at the end of the zero too.
Yeah. And back then, she was
there.
Yeah, she was making sculptures. She had a dog.
Right.
Dogs are a good way to get to the zero.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's Dogwood Drive.
Yeah.
And right. And so, let's keep going because I think here we go.
So if our dogwood is the same as her dogwood, then she didn't recognize it. Or she didn't get there because she hadn't journeyed deep enough.
Well, I like the fact that there's actually that she says there's a lot of goblins, right?
Yeah.
And that in some ways there may be one specific for everyone. That hers may be different in the specifics, but the same in purpose, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Did she say something like that? I get the metaphor that like there are many dogwoods, there are many paths to travel, right?
Right.
But I didn't get the sense that like there's a unique path for everybody.
Well, it's mostly the fact that I see her as having taken a step. She sounds like she was more content when she was there than when she was here. Right?
I made sculptures versus I make proposals to make imagined sculptures, and they get rejected.
Right. And otherwise, I do bureaucratic functions.
Yes.
All right, so let's keep going because I think that this section sort of really defines a lot of when they start talking about how and why they renew.
Yeah.
Um,
But
yeah.
shouldn't be so spiteful. So there are a couple places where you can remonstrate.
Yeah. I find it amusing that she says they were friends. I also think that it's amazing that she takes it that way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
And then she tries to shut you down.
right.
Now you can have Shannon talk to her. She's going to cut right through it. Which causes taken aback.
And now she's talking about Joseph positive. I find it amusing that only technology causes this problem.
Yeah.
That as human beings, we can all understand these different dogwood drives are. That they're all dogwood drive.
Yeah.
Right? But the machines are not.
If we're dealing with this,
I like specifically this line, right?
name
Computer
collisions
has
is a real.
no sense of ambiguity.
We've got difficulty in transmitting message into games, which is through the production process, which we might be seeing right here. We also have creativity through any sort of organized system.
Well, and I think it's also about the transmission back, right? He's talking about trying to transmit ambiguity through the medium of game, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The computer has no ambiguity.
Yeah.
And yet that's exactly what he's trying to deliver to us through this computer medium.
Also from the academic thing, though, we have situations set up. We start to compartmentalize and name things in order to teach them.
Mhm.
So we have to break things apart into discrete chunks.
I like the fact that what they have here in abundance is records.
Out by courier.
Of course. O for Odinums.
Yeah. That's exactly how I would do it.
Or S for specific. Anything specific, look under S. But that, like, it's like... okay, so that could just be a joke. It's also truly incompetent naming an organization.
Well, I mean, I think it fits into your...
Well, you spend a lot of time when you're programming, as the project gets bigger and bigger,
Right.
cursing your past self for being so bad at organizing things.
Well, and specifically often for naming conventions.
Yes.
Right.
Specific. I'll file it under specific.
Is this the floor with the organ?
No, that is the conference room. Should we activate the organ?
Does it matter when you activate the organ?
I don't know.
Let's go try it. Whatever.
Because we did it at the same point last time.
Oh, then let's do this first and then do it.
Once
Run
I can
back and
hobble.
forth. Yes. I also feel. Did he get more gray hair on his side? Like.
No, but the characters are bigger than they were allowed to be in
Okay.
the last one. I noticed that, and it felt like it actually made it feel like a sequel in that, wow, everything's sharper and clearer. They made the graphics better. Or wait, they just zoomed in.
So.
Okay, so we've got comments on the organization system. This is again more like the programming metaphor. before you leave inscrutable comments. I like that. They're like, just stop filing.
Just work on what you can.
And I love how
Impossible this instruction is.
right, how it doesn't even make sense even with the examples they give.
Cars is often used as a programming example of object-oriented programming.
Sure.
Because you say car fits in a garage and it needs to interact with it.
Right.
Yeah.
What's amazing to me is the first thing you said about car, garage, right? Was your first word association, which is past our app.
Or the fact that both cars and air quality fit in our thing, but like air quality is A, but doesn't work.
Well, the thing that you choose any one thing, and it will have associations that are outside A through F.
Yeah,
Right? No,
gasoline.
any given thing, right? And so that's.
But
amazing.
if there's a method to this,
Mhm.
like in programming, you could know that a car has automotive drive-in brakes and doesn't
Right.
have other things.
Mhm.
But in the real world,
Except
you
for you do that, and then later in your game you realize that you have to add gasoline to that list, and you're screwed.
couldn't. No, you give it magic juju juice.
The M
So-
is still outside of our list.
there was a page that
This
you
is-
had skipped the first time through. When
I
you
don't think so.
when you finish the back cover, page 63 shows up.
Yes, you
Oh,
look
yeah.
at it and it doesn't tell you anything.
Okay.
It's also worthless, like the rest of the instructions.
So I find the organ moment really interesting, right? Because I do feel like we are juxtaposing this mundane office with magical Fantasia.
I think that was so. This bureaucracy moved into the place of the church.
Can you go to the 5th floor?
He doesn't do anything different.
I know. I'm just saying because you hit the down button. I'm just wondering if it's relevant. So the
Oh, I
fact
can
that you
hit
hit
the down arrow.
the fact that you hit the up arrow.
Maybe
down
it
arrow,
takes a long time to come.
Or you go down the bottom and then you come back.
Maybe
up.
they simulate the elevator here. And his record is skipping again, by the way. Fix that for you.
It would be amusing if, as the elevator door closed, you got up and set it back to skipping
It's gonna look at you.
with his creepy head.
That turned a little bit too far. Okay, so this place moved into the church.
Mhm.
Specifically, we've got the organ. Makes music out of air.
I like the fact that it's adjoined to the conference room, right?
Where you plan it.
And well, I mean, organ is also very mathematical. Is perhaps the most mathematical of instruments.
But it's played by a dude who's grilling
Right.
in
Like-
a bathing suit.
I find this.
They outsource the music.
Or is this the creative spirit that's left that then filters back? Like this is the beginning of things.
Hmm.
And this is the purest form of it.
Well, I like the fact that it drains light out of the rest of the place, and no one else seems to notice. But like, clearly, this is super important to them, right? Because there's a lot of time and attention focused on this, and like this scene, this cut scene, takes longer than any other place where they take control of it, right?
Is
And
this
it
what
changes the whole office.
Yeah. And I feel like this is in the way that once we go back, we can see the conference room. Everybody started the presentation. And we're looking at what could be sources of inspiration.
I'm also curious. I'd have to take another look at it. The band moment from the first one to see if the musical cutaways, like, because the other one is also sort of semi-transformative.
The band is as you're walking back down the hill, or like come. And
And you've had it right after the transformative moment in this case, right? You had the house like breakup. You had the, and so I'm curious to see if they're playing with musical parallels.
And it says these are disconnected images,
Right.
but they're clearly not.
Well, they're clearly
Or these people are putting them together.
right. They're clearly presented in a way
Yeah.
that is said to is ostensibly has meaning, right? But I think they're saying does not.
Or at least whoever is looking at them thinks of it.
I was curious to see what unpopular anagrams is an anagram of, but
Giorgio de Chirico is a really modern painter who painted buildings.
Solitary buildings, though, right?
Yeah, well, it'll be. It was described as from like seen from a train, like you see the building that sticks in your mind. Influenced surrealism and also the cover of Eco is kind of based on his work.
The American or Japanese cover?
Japanese.
I thought so.
The American cover
Right. I was
is
gonna
based on Leprechaun 2.
Go Bears.
I was pretty sure you were talking about. I was like, yeah.
Bars. How they can dance. Well, bears don't need light.
Maybe just watching people. Let's see if they get bears at the end. Like, they're doing anything different.
Okay.
Because out here we look at the top of the organ and yeah, no, it's the same.
No, bears are looking at the right.
What's really interesting is the fan at the top implies that you are inside, right?
Looks like an exhaust fan.
Right.
Like you would need to keep a giant underground system.
Is the guy on the top floor? Oh no, right.
Yeah, he's got a light. He's still working.
So back to we've had these two moments, right? We had basically the organ moment and organ floor. So why is there such a stress on that juxtaposition
On pre-organ, post-organ?
and on organ versus literally the camera pans, right? You pan over and you pan from mundane, bureaucratic, academic setting.
Well, the game does that a lot. It zooms in on a specific moment that it's trying to draw attention to in between two different worlds.
I think it's important that they're together though.
Mhm.
Like we both live in the same place.
Right. And the question is, are we passing from one to another? Because right, they said they occupied it, and is that the remnants of the old one, or are they actually sharing this place?
It is actually like texturally it's a remnant.
Right. Okay.
Um,
I mean, yes, I get that texture.
and then there's a bit where you can ask them why did you buy this space, and nobody can really tell you. My read on it is that it was like it's important to the process. It's the only way they knew how to incorporate it and transform it into something else. And in doing so, they broke it.
Sure.
There's still remnants of it around.
And what do you think that says about what does that say in terms of the game itself and the overall idea of this game?
The nature of art is fragile, right? The creation of art is fragile. The creation of mindful living. Brave. Jack on the light. Oh, the lights come back on after a while.
Yep.
Did it happen
We've
when you
only
talked
moved
to
into
them?
this new venue a bit recently, and then the bureau reclaimed it.
And I like the fact the old congregation has been directed to one of our storage facilities.
It gets into an interesting thing.
And it's interesting that it's where they sort of street.
This reminded me of The Pale King, David Foster Wallace's posthumous novel, where it's based on IRS agents. There's a bit in the beginning where a character who's moved to the middle of Illinois, like in the middle of nowhere, is picked up by an IRS agency vehicle, which is a repurposed ice cream truck, because it was efficient. And so then they described to him how it's followed around by like crying children. And it's actually driven by an old ice cream truck driver because they didn't want. It was cheaper just to keep him on as a driver, although he doesn't know how to drive faster than 40 miles an hour on the highway. Specialist regarding ailments of the joints.
So what's interesting about this? There's something like sort of direct plot-wise that I found interesting about her saying this specifically.
Like she's giving you instructions to fix yourself when she can't fixed
Right.
herself.
She has the exact problem, right, that she's describing with ailments of joints and limbs.
Well, didn't she say earlier that she goes to this guy?
And yet he hasn't been able to like fix her. Does she actually say that she goes to him? Okay,
Yeah, she says like
Yeah.
Dr. Truman said blank about my.
and that's why she knows he works at night.
Yeah.
But I find it interesting that like he hasn't been able to do anything about her ailments, and also we get this last line right. His home office is in a small neighborhood on the east edge of Bowling. We have no idea where that is, right? That's not come up, right?
Yeah.
And yet it's on the zero, right?
It's unusual how people in this building don't talk about the zeros.
Right.
Although,
Well, the
Like-
zero has never been literal, right? Like it's always.
but it's
Yeah.
like it's space inside this game now.
You are on the zero.
Well, they never. Yeah, but like. I don't know. Just the tonal shift of the two.
Now that we're actually in the zero.
Yeah, like it makes sense that they would talk about it differently.
When they talk about the zero, is the word still?
Yep.
Okay, good. Because I know it is whenever your character talk about it, even here.
Yeah.
But I hadn't noticed whether or not the other characters still have the text edit for the zero.
I really like these hermit crabs that show up.
I do too. And I'm curious to see what
Come on, over here.
what triggers them showing up. Because is it just the organ, or is it you finishing the series, or what is it?
I wouldn't know how to do it without cueing the organ. I couldn't tell you.
And so clearly these guys are all wearing office supplies, right? And we've already had hermit crabs brought up. We foreshadowed these hermit crabs, right? So what are they saying with this, right? Because this is, again, kicking your brain. This is a moment outside of what you expect when you come down. So they're highlighting it for you. What are they trying to say with it?
So hermit crabs grab other objects. They don't build their own thing, right?
They grab discarded objects.
Yeah, but then they create something functional out of it.
Yeah.
So we're creating homes for hermit crabs out of discarded office supplies. In the same way that we are going to be transmuting all these experiences, all this mundanity, into something approaching art.
Interesting. Because I actually took it the other way. I have to think through it more completely. But I thought they were talking about making home runs.
Living in your experience, rather than trying to move past them.
Yes, and specifically living in this world that functionally doesn't happen, right?
Right. But hermit crabs keep growing,
And they
grow
shed
out the
their
old
shell.
stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And that I think is important that these things that's what has to happen
Yeah.
for all of these. I took the hermit crabs as sort of representative of everyone in this.
Sure.
Yeah,
they
they-
live inside of paper
Yeah,
clips.
they're currently residing in there, but not
Right.
permanently.
Well, that is the hope, right?
Yeah, the hermit crab will move on, grow and move on.
The hermit crab will these people. But all right, what do you think?
I'm thinking about that, like whether it's a stasis or a constant movement. Because I think I was thinking of it as hermit crabs are using something functionally in that they're part of nature.
Sure.
Generally, we don't find nature being tricky.
Interesting. So I very often see the crab as the pair of scuttling claws, right? We don't really have the most positive general literary associations with crab, and I mean it is. We see it as a scavenger of sailors, right? And so it's interesting that we came at it from two different perspectives. I'm not sure that any one is more valid than the other. I think they just offers other interesting ways to view the clearly metaphorical narrative that's going on.
Well, and we've got all this reappropriating television as a source of.
Did we have any thoughts or questions from the stream? While,
We have a bunch of questions. I figure we can just, because we're almost done with this, we can
Sure.
just go through and do the questions after the break.
Delayed gratification.
Well done.
Just another office. Speaking of apps.
Sure, let's do it.
Church now. You're motorcycle. Sure,
Right,
it's very
so-
nice.
And there's so many times, right, that we do that with so many things in this life to so many people. Right?
I like how she says, "Go see it for yourself," even though she's clearly not seen it.
Right. No. Oh yeah. Okay. Good. They do too. Still.
Yeah. Get back on the zero. Drive until you hit the crystal.
Yep.
Then turn around.
And I like
Then
like
turn
there's
around.
Then turn around. Yeah.
It'll make sense once you get there.
What's surprising is that you don't have another conversation with the dog.
Yeah. I actually thought that was weird too.
I don't think they're making a point through it.
That last hermit crab, did it actually show up?
Yeah.
There we go. Oh no, not that one. There was one
There's
last
like
time. that,
one way over.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
It didn't actually register last time. Yeah. That was the one. That does
Funny.
nothing. I think it's just a bug, but. Or at least it should
There's a bug in the
script.
first one. We missed a couple characters in the first act from the gas station. There's a character that shows up to the gas station who is looking for someone's brother.
And this is why y'all should play this game and not trust us to play it for you because oh man.
There's a lot of stuff going on there that we're not even reaching.
This kid is very cool.
Alright,
Yes.
so do you want to take a break here?
At some point we should discuss the very structure of the zero, but
Yeah.
is the crystal click onable by the way?
Not really. Things work a little bit different in
Yeah.
zero, as you might expect. Just turn around to 8-1
Alright.
Alright,
So-
so what we're going to do, I think we'll take a break.
Yep, and then
Come
answer
back to the questions. But while we're taking a break, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new raffle up. If you guys want to join in the raffle, just type !raffle, and then what we'll do is when we get back after the break, we'll draw a couple of winners, we'll give away codes for the game, and then we'll do questions. Sound good?
on the good.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out, and we'll be back in about 3 to 5. Hello.
All right, we're back.
Hello.
I'm back. Let's
Dan's
draw.
not back.
I'm back now. Oh yeah. All right. I'm gonna draw winners for the raffle.
All right. It's Dan and Dan and Dan. How shocking!
Is that why you went to the bathroom to enter the raffle like 600 times?
At least 600 times. All right.
Just in there with his phone.
This isn't working, so we're gonna do this.
All right. Technology. I said we would never use it. Dan insists on continuing to use it. We continue to.
All right. Laguna Valentine.
You
wins.
win.
Dude, it's even got this button.
Yeah.
We can see all of Laguna Valentine's stats, like their picture.
Or not picture in this case.
All right. Let's do.
Are you putting together this list?
Yes.
I feel like we should find some way to entertain the audience while you're very
Well,
slowly
we
getting
got
this
some
list.
more. We got some more.
Right.
Kello 7.
You also
You
win.
are also
You
a
know what
winner.
we need? We need a bank of television so we can read the comments at the same time as. I think that's the solution.
I do. I mean, when do we not need a bank of
Well, I mean, you have all these stupid books, but you
Right.
can replace them with television.
right. Some year. This will just all be gone. It'll just be televisions.
You're like, oh, I've been reading my Kindle
But
books.
old CRTs. Great.
You get the thing from WoW. Like, I'm sure they don't need it.
Right. I was actually just thinking that. Since they put another television on top.
Let's get a question.
Oh man. Okay, what's our question?
What is extra credit schedule? If they haven't answered that one, I have to like program an actual back.
Do we have more winners, or was that it for winners?
We're gonna do a couple more winners.
Swell!
What game
Congrats.
genre do you think is getting stale?
Oh, it's only got a
Guessing.
single instant. I think we need to start having a good conversation about adding RPG elements to everything.
I think we need to have that. That's why I was saying getting, right? There's a lot of things which we've already made stale,
Yeah.
right? Like, what I was trying to think, what's on the verge of getting stale? I mean, I think that RPG elements is clearly something that we have overutilized, especially when we say RPG elements, we don't mean role playing.
We need grind.
Right.
Yeah.
We mean our Skinner boxes.
What's weird is that it's now an expectation. So we both have people who are alienated when we don't have it, and they don't feel like their progress is going up. Like, it's still psychologically effective, and the people who have seen through the walls
right.
and now struggle against it.
And I think we are on our way to doing the same thing with collectability. I think that we are starting to include it in more and more games.
Well, before we got RPG mechanics, we were using collectibles to fill that gap. Like, find all of the comic books in
So-
Spider-Man 2 and earn concept art.
I actually mean randomness.
Okay.
Randomness as a
Being like Pokemon style.
yes, or like if we look at our app store, right, everything now delivers your rewards in a randomized pack rather than in a
Gachapon
Right.
style, yeah.
which I mean is true that is the loot drop from any monster in any game ever is just a gachapon.
Yeah.
But the making that overt for everything, so that way, I mean, I think did I see it in like wasn't it in Smash Brothers or something where you had the yep. So I think we're starting to see that become a universal alternate way to get you to grind, right?
So we've got this thing where these are based on psychological principles.
Right.
So and we're also looking for the most effective reward schedule. And so what we know is, hey, this one thing is the most effective one. But now that people are getting desensitized to it, is that going to change?
Well, so I actually see it a lot like advertising.
Mhm.
So advertising over the last century, the history of advertising is really the history of learning a new thing to hit us with, right? Whether originally
Like-
newspaper ads,
Sure.
then billboards, then radio,
Or even the
television
content
ads.
it co-opts pop culture.
Right. But at each stage, right, that's effective for a short period of time, and then we sort of immunize to it, right? We get inured to this particular form. Nobody even sees billboards any longer. Same with billboard ads on the computer, right? And so I kind of see some of these game mechanics functioning like advertisements where originally they're really sticky, they're really effective because we haven't been exposed to them before. We saw this with social mechanics, right? When social mechanics were a new thing, oh man, the power of the social mechanics, and now today, everyone just ignores it stuff, right? Why would I ever share this game? became a totally different dynamic than when it first came out.
By that metaphor, Cookie Clicker
Mhm.
is a vaccine against Farmville.
I can mention that. Oh, so I was gonna go and Cow Clicker before Cookie Clicker.
Sure,
right?
sure.
I can actually see that as inoculation. Yes. I do like the idea of game designers making vaccines for the virus. they might need.
Wow, and virus is the word that we use.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
We actually do say it's viral, right? Like,
Yes, we do.
oh man. All right. So,
what
other
else we got
questions?
here?
Or do we have?
We'll be doing the interlude episodes of this game as well for Kentucky Route Zero.
Yes,
Yes.
we should talk about Lula because I would like somebody to tell me whether she's a real person or not, because there are articles about Lula Chamberlain, about the limits and demonstrations content that say she was an artist who was obscure in the 60s, but those articles are all in context of the Kentucky Route Zero thing. And there's a real picture of a real person, but all of that discussion is about Kentucky Route Zero.
So I really do like that blending, that questioning that it causes. I will have to look into this further. Like when we get back next week to talk about this, I will have done a little bit more digging. It's been a hectic week.
It's very scarce on the internet. Like,
well. Hopefully,
so there was a real
extra credits army. Go.
There was a real exhibition of real stuff in a real physical space that included the game limits and demonstrations.
But was it? Who was it? Who was this exhibition put on?
The Philly College.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that strongly implies that there are physical pieces, which means that there's a real artist, right?
Sure.
But then she's a character in a game, and she's almost invisible on the internet. Which
Well, I feel like it's very hard to have had her. I mean, it's hard to be invisible on the internet if she was a real artist with any modicum of success. So it's something I will just have to look into more. How curious. Why do you think they did that?
it fits their theme of. It fits the Kentucky theme pretty well. Finding hidden value in things.
Well, and the reality of life, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
they-
you mean why would they potentially create a fake person?
right. Like, why would you go to that level of effort for this person? So why does it enhance the experience as a designer to include this person who may or may not be real,
Yeah.
as opposed to have her just be a fictive character?
The effect of it in Exit through the Gift Shop.
Interesting. That is a good reference. So have
Ask the
I
computer
really
screen.
I do want to ask. I want to make sure that everyone has seen Exit to the Gift Shop. I mean, it is a okay. So further explain that reference actually.
Okay.
because Let's assume that not everyone has seen it.
Exit Through the Gift Shop is graffiti artist Banksy's documentary. Okay, so it starts as a documentary of graffiti. We follow a couple of graffiti artists as they go around. And then we start focusing on one who becomes commercial and starts selling his work. And then in the last, 10 minutes of the movie, they start asking if he's a real person or not.
And
you finish the movie wondering if he was a creation of this movie.
right, if he's fictive for that movie.
Yeah.
If he is Banksy, actually,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's very interesting. Very interesting interplay.
I don't think anybody's there isn't a real, because he really put on galleries and real pieces were sold.
Right.
But I don't think anybody's actually decided if he was just a bad artist who shockingly got popular or if he was Banksy,
Right.
which fits the movie very well. I mean, there's a whole question of authenticity with graffiti.
Well, and I mean, I think that that plays through here, right? There's a lot that they're playing in terms of the line of reality in terms of the internal narrative of this world,
Mm-hmm.
and then bringing this character in, I think helps blur those lines even further because it gets you to, instead of ask what's real and what's false within this world, to ask what is real and what is false, period, right? But we have other questions?
Yeah, so what do we think about the mystic parts of the game fit with the more realistic parts.
As I said originally, I think it's a heavy magical realism game. I think that you